where the walls whisper. The last footage of Emma and Nathan Harper doesn't show anyone dying. There's no blood, no screaming, no monster leaping at the camera. It's just a quiet hallway in a nice old house, the kind realtors call full of character. At the far end, a young couple stands in front of an antique mirror. They look tense, exhausted, faces drawn, eyes hollow. For almost 3 minutes, they don't move. Then, on the recording, their reflections blink a heartbeat too late and start smiling on their own. That was the night the house finally learned their names. The first night in their new home, Emma woke up to hear her husband whispering her name from the hallway. Only Nathan was sound asleep beside her. Her heart pounded. The whisper came again, softer now, almost affectionate, as if someone were trying not to wake him. She stared at the door. The bedroom was cloaked in shadow, except for the thin line of light from the hallway. The whisper floated through it again closer. Emma. She threw off the blanket, every instinct screaming, "Don't move." Yet she crossed the room anyway. Her fingers brushed the doorknob. Cold. Not cool ... but cold, as if the metal had been left in the snow. When she opened the door, the hallway was empty. The only thing she saw was herself in the round antique mirror hanging opposite their bedroom only. Her reflection wasn't facing her. Emma blinked, and it snapped back into place, copying her gasp, her wide eyes, her shaking shoulders. She stood there a moment longer, listening to the heavy silence press in from both ends of the hallway. Then she shut the door, slid back into bed, and pretended not to see the faint handprint fogging the inside of the bedroom window. They'd bought the 1920s Craftsman only a week ago after finding the listing online. Beautiful wood trim, glass door knobs, creaky but full of character. For $120,000, it was a miracle find. Something to truly start a life together. The realtor had been oddly quiet during the walkthrough. When Emma asked why the previous family sold, the woman smiled tightly. They decided to move on, she said, refusing to meet their eyes. It hadn't mattered. The couple were newlyweds, young, hopeful, seeing only good omens in the sunlight slipping through stained glass windows. On the second day, as they carried boxes from the car, an elderly neighbor from across the street shuffled over, clutching a cardigan around her shoulders despite the warm air. "You bought the Harper place," she said, more statement than question. Nathan wiped sweat from his brow. "Yeah, I'm Nathan. This is Emma." The woman's eyes lingered on the front door, on the dark rectangle of the hallway beyond. "You keep your windows open at night, you hear?" she muttered. "Houses like this, they like to hold on to things." Before they could ask what she meant, she turned and walked away without looking back. By day 3, a faint odor had appeared in the hallway. Damp wood, old earth, the kind of smell that reminds you the house is breathing. The first odd event came with the boxes. Emma swore she'd unpacked a stack of kitchenware the night before. The next morning, the same boxes reappeared upstairs, still sealed. Nathan teased her about new house poltergeists, as he tried to laugh it off. "You probably brought them up and forgot," he said, but his eyes flicked down the hallway toward the mirror as he spoke. That evening, Emma noticed something else. Taped on the inside of a kitchen cabinet, almost hidden behind a hinge, was a yellowed scrap of paper covered in rushed handwriting. Most of the ink had bled, but she could make out a few words. "Don't answer," and beneath it, "It knows your name." She felt a chill and quietly folded the note into her pocket, saying nothing. One evening, the upstairs lights all turned off at once. Nathan was in the hallway when it happened, halfway to the bathroom. Emma heard the click of the switch, then his quiet, steady, Okay, that's not funny. She grabbed her phone and used the flashlight to find the breaker. Every switch sat in the correct position. When the lights suddenly flickered back on, Nathan was standing frozen under the hallway fixture, staring at the round mirror. His reflection was just a fraction too slow to follow when he turned his head. They blamed faulty wiring until Nathan found something while repainting the living room. Letters faintly bleeding through the new coat of white. He leaned closer, the words surfacing like bruises. "Welcome home, Emma." His skin went cold. When she came in seconds later, the letters were gone, completely swallowed by the paint. All that remained was a patch that seemed slightly darker than the rest of the wall, as though the house had swallowed the message, but not the intention behind it. Nathan didn't sleep much that night. After that, the house began to change. Literally. One morning, the door to the laundry room opened to a narrow space that hadn't been there before, just a strip of wall and a mirror nailed against it. When Emma examined the edges, the wallpaper didn't line up. It looked newer. Nathan said maybe a previous owner had patched a section badly and forced a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. That night, Emma woke to the faint clicking of the rocking chair downstairs and realized she could hear whispers again. Not one this time, but two, speaking softly in rhythm, like breathy laughter under a blanket. When she crept to the living room, she found the chair swaying on its own, perfectly in time with those murmuring voices. In the corner of her eye, she thought she saw movement of shadow, shifting where light should have landed. "Nathan?" she whispered. The whisper stopped. The chair stilled. Seconds later, he answered from upstairs, sleepy and annoyed. "What are you doing down there?" Nathan grew obsessed with understanding it. He set up motion detectors, cameras, even downloaded a sound mapping app to catch frequencies beyond human hearing. Cables snaked down the hallway, small red lights blinking like watchful eyes. Every night the same pattern occurred. For exactly 13 seconds around 2:57 a.m., every device went silent. Then, just before the static returned, one word hissed through his laptop speakers. "Stay." He started writing everything down: room temperatures, timestamps, dreams he couldn't quite shake off. In one, he was standing in front of the hallway mirror, and his reflection leaned out toward him and whispered something he could never remember upon waking, only that it was spoken with Emma's voice, and it made him feel both loved and suffocated. Emma, meanwhile, began noticing him talking in his sleep, or so she thought. Because sometimes, when he murmured things like, "I see you," or "We're almost there," his lips didn't move at all. She tested it once. "Nathan," she whispered in the dark, "who are you talking to?" From the other side of the room, his voice answered, "She's right here." Oh, his chest rose and fell in the steady rhythm of dreamless sleep. A few days later, Emma heard him in the basement calling her name. She answered, but got no reply. The sound of his voice was hollow, echoing off concrete and wood. When she went down, the space was completely empty, except for a single old rocking chair. Nathan wasn't there, but on the concrete floor, written crudely in white chalk, were the words, "She's already inside." The chalk line trembled, as if it had been written by a shaking hand or dragged there from somewhere else. Emma backed up the stairs without turning around, the sense of something just behind her heels nearly overwhelming. She ran upstairs and found Nathan asleep on the couch, pale and sweating, his shirt damp as if from running. He looked up at her grudgingly. "What's wrong?" "You were in the basement," she said. He blinked. "I haven't been down there since we moved in." Then who wrote this? She demanded, but when she led him back down, the message was gone. Only a faint haze of white dust remained in the middle of the floor, disturbed by no footprints but her own. By the seventh night, Emma could hardly think. Her dreams blended with waking sounds, the whispers repeating her name, the faint rasping that seemed to come from inside the walls. She started keeping a journal on the knitstand. Each night, she jotted down every strange thing, the ticking that stopped whenever she looked directly at the clock, the door that refused to stay closed, the way the hallway seemed to stretch an extra shadow's length when the lights were out. Nathan found the folded note from the kitchen cabinet in the pages one morning. "Don't answer. It knows your name," he read aloud. "Probably some stupid prank," he said quickly, crumpling it and tossing it toward the trash. But he missed, and the note landed perfectly centered on the hallway rug, right in front of the mirror. Neither of them moved to pick it up. She caught Nathan more and more often standing before that round hallway mirror, motionless, palm against the glass. Sometimes he would stand there in complete silence. Other times, his mouth moved in a whisper, so soft she couldn't make out the words. His voice was barely audible one evening when she crept up behind him. "They're showing me something." Emma looked into the mirror and saw nothing but their reflection, until it smiled back after she stopped moving. Her own face, her own eyes, but with a brightness that felt wrong, like a stranger borrowing her skin. Then something rippled at the mirror's surface. Nathan pressed harder, and his hand slid partway through, as if the reflection had turned liquid. Emma screamed and grabbed him, trying to pull him back, but by the time she did, his hand was simply gone. No wound, no blood, just smooth skin where it should have been. He stared at the empty space where his hand had been, then at the mirror, then at her. "It doesn't hurt," he whispered. "I thought it would hurt." At the hospital, doctors said it was impossible. They spoke in baffled fragments, congenital anomaly, misremembered trauma, but offered no real explanation. They wanted scans, specialists, tests. Nathan refused. "It happened there," he told Emma in the car. "They won't find anything out here." That night, Emma suggested a hotel. "We can leave, Nathan. Just for a while." He shook his head. His eyes looked darker now, like the house had dimmed the color. "If we leave now, it'll just follow us," he said. "This is where it lives. This is where it wants us." "Us?" she asked. "Or that you?" He didn't answer. At midnight, Emma woke up to the sound of Nathan's voice again, calling her name from the hallway. She stumbled out of bed, shaking, holding a flashlight that flickered each time she said his name back. "Nathan, stop it," she called. "This isn't funny." No answer, just the soft, patient whisper, "Emma." She followed the sound to the mirror. It was darker, now dense, alive, rippling faintly like a puddle disturbed. The hallway behind her seemed to retreat, stretching into deeper shadow. Inside the glass, she saw the hallway, but not as it was. The wallpaper looked older, stained and peeling. The light fixture hung at an angle, bulb flickering weakly. And deep within that reflected corridor stood Nathan, half in shadow, his missing hand whole again at his side. He looked younger somehow, less tired, like the version of him from their wedding photos. His mouth moved. "Stay." She pressed her hand against the surface. It was warm, warmer than her own skin, like the air from a crowded room. The reflection smiled, not hers, but his, and extended a hand toward her. Behind him, other shapes shifted just out of full view, clinging to the edges of the frame. A woman's profile, a child's hand on the wall, a suggestion of eyes watching through the cracks. The camera Nathan had left running later captured Emma walking up to the mirror and standing there in silence for almost 3 minutes. The hallway lights flickered, casting her in stuttering bands of brightness and dark. Then her reflection blinked a second later than she did, tilted its head, and smiled. The footage ended with a soft, almost satisfied sigh coming from nowhere in particular. When the realtor listed the house 2 weeks later, the note was simple: 4 bedrooms, newly renovated, owners relocated suddenly. Long after they're gone, the house still murmurs softly, as if finishing a conversation that never really ended.